Welcome back, everyone, to the School of Greatness podcast. Very excited about our guest. His name is Jason Wachob. He's got a new book out called Wealth. Make sure to check it out right now. It's Wealth, How I Learned to Build a Life, Not a Resume. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Louis.
Pumped to have you. I was in your office, Mind, Body, Green office, probably 8 months ago or something.
Yep.
Talking about my books. Now you're here talking about your book. What inspired you to write this book in the first place?
So I'm 41,
Yes.
and 2 years ago, my 39th birthday, I woke up in the morning and I decided I wanted to write a blog post. So I wrote a blog post, 39 life lessons I've learned in 39 years. Stream of consciousness just sort of happened, posted incredibly well, went viral, and a couple of days later, a literary agent wrote to the general inbox at Mind, Body, Green and said, read your blog post. I think there's a book here. Love to talk to you.
Wow.
And so I never wrote back. I thought this isn't a book. It's a blog. I'm not naive to this stuff.
Yeah.
I got enough going on. I don't have time for this. So never wrote back. And then a couple weeks later, she sent a package to the office with a letter saying, here's a book. You should read this book. I think your book could be in similar structure and format, and take a look at it. And so I was traveling the next day, actually going to Ohio, and I read the book on a flight. And then after I read the book, I was like, holy cow, I think I could write a book.
Wow. Okay.
And then signed with her, and that was it. So the blog post, I never really intended to write a book, and it just happened.
Wow. And what was the book she gave you?
It was
remember?
Regina Brett, God Never Blinks.
Okay.
Like 50 life lessons from 50 something.
There you go. Similar type of book.
Yeah. And
So you're like,
supposedly
I see.
like a great bestseller written from a woman in Ohio, wrote like a daily column. And
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. I said, never met with another agent and just started writing.
Okay. Now you played basketball at Columbia, right? Columbia University.
Yes, sir. Yep.
For how many years?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And you got injured too, right? You had a career-ending injury?
Lots of injuries
Yeah,
that I'm still
every
walking
athlete-
around with.
I
I'm
hear
in one
you.
piece.
Exactly. But did you have an injury that ended everything for you?
No, it was a number of little things. Had a third-degree ankle sprain, which has still screwed up my right ankle for life. Dislocated shoulders.
Yeah.
Started to develop back pain, but didn't realize how bad it was until it really hit me later on in life.
But you're also 6'7"?
6'7", yeah.
You're pretty tall.
Yeah, so I walked out of that feeling pretty good that I was in one piece.
Yes.
I do yoga now. I'm retired.
Yes, professional yogi.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think was the biggest lesson you learned from your sports experience?
God, so much. I talk about this a lot at work. I think I learned more from playing basketball in college than I ever did it in school, or about being an entrepreneur, a CEO. Like,
really?
Yeah, like things. I think little things like you take for granted, like showing up on time.
Of course, yeah.
Work
Can't
ethic,
show up late at practice.
Work ethic, passion. You can't turn it on and off. My coach would always, get on us. If you were dogging it in practice, like you can't just go through the motions in practice and turn it on the game. You got to play hard all the time.
Right.
I think I learned a lot about losing, how you handle losing. When I got to Columbia, we were terrible. We lost a lot.
Right.
And, my coach, Armand Hill, who I talk about in the book, who's now with the Clippers, he would get on us. He'd say, listen, a couple things, guys. Like one, like losing says a lot about your character. Like, how do you handle losing? Can you rise above it? Do you blame people? Very easy to blame other people when you're losing. Do you get used to it? Do you become complacent? You can't. It's got to upset you. But how do you react? Do you react as a team? Do you grow stronger together? And leaving Columbia, we actually started to win. Felt good about that. Became pretty decent, and just I think learned a lot about how you handle adversity and losing.
Yeah.
Very easy when you're winning, when things are going great, but how you react in adversity and dealing with losing is.
It's interesting because I don't know if you watch UFC at all.
I do not.
I don't usually watch it, but Conor McGregor is fascinating to watch him talk and fight, and just how he positioned himself as a branding. It's incredible for me. So I watched his last fight where he lost, where he was hasn't lost in 3 years or something, and he talks so much about how he's going to win every time. And the way he handled it was incredible. Like the way he was like, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to take it like a man. And my competitor was incredible, and big props to him, and this is just going to make me stronger.
Yep.
I was like, that's a great way to look at it, as
Yep.
opposed to, well, I jumped up 2 weight class. He jumped up 2 weight
Yep.
classes first. Oh, I jumped up 2 weight classes. Excuse.
Yep,
He was
exactly.
like, nope, he beat me. I want to learn from it, get
Yep.
better.
Accountability.
That's it. And it was shocking, but I guess it shouldn't be surprised to see that. But that's it. A lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, will blame things, or they'll blame whatever else is happening on. So
Yeah, you gotta let it sting, take the lesson, and move on.
that's it. Yeah. Who was the most influential person in your life growing up?
God, a lot of them. I don't know if there's one. My mother, deeply influential. Parents divorced when I was young. My mother was everything. I think I never, something I definitely don't take for granted is this idea. As a kid, my mother was the type of parent who led me to believe I could accomplish anything.
Yeah.
If you work hard, you can do it. Everything's possible. And, something you don't realize as a kid, but that's really powerful. Not everyone has that. And I think, I became an eternal optimist. She mentally trained me to be an optimist, whether I knew it or not. And it's something a lot of people don't have. And so she was deeply influential, I'd say, her, and then various coaches along the way. I think you always learn more from the bad ones than the good ones sometimes.
Oh my gosh. I had some horrible coaches. I had some really bad one of my college football coaches, the first one, he just constantly yelled at me, constantly swore at me, constantly broke me down. And I was just like, this is not working for me.
Yeah.
You're not getting the best out of me by doing this. There's some coaches that know how to talk to each person on the team in a way that's going to resonate to get them to be their best.
Yep.
Whereas this coach just talked the same way to everyone.
Yep.
For some people, it might work, but
Yep.
I think an effective leader learns how to communicate to each person
Yep.
and understand where they're at.
No
right?
one-size-fits-all approach to anything in life.
Exactly. So what was the most important lesson you learned from your mom? Was it to be positive, or?
I think it's something I talk a lot about in the book, and it's a big part of my life is having a gratitude practice.
Yes.
And this idea, I remember as a kid, complaining about something. I thought, someone over here had it better than we did, and my mother, spoke of the parable. The boy with no shoes cried until he met the boy with no feet.
Right.
And this idea of really being grateful for what you have. Really important lesson. There's, especially in life, I'm a type A, you're a type A, we're used to, you're working hard, you're kicking ass, you're taking names, you have goals, you're used to reaching them. But it's also this idea of balancing that with just being grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get lost in that. And I think there's always someone who has more, whether it's money or always say a perceived better relationship. Because I think with relationships, everyone always thinks someone has a better relationship. Better abs, bigger home. And I think it's very easy to get caught up in that.
Right.
So how do you balance that? If you're a person who's really passionate, who has goals, who works hard, how do you passion that with this idea of just being grateful? I think it's a balance, and I think we all struggle with it. And so I learned a lot about that, this idea of pushing versus pulling and being thankful.
Sure. Do you have a ritual or routine every single day that with gratitude, but everything else, like you said, yoga, what is that?
Yes. So literally I wake up and I repeat, thank you, over and over in my head mentally, silently. I just have done it for years. I just do it with it before my feet touch the ground. I repeat thank you over and over. I literally have it on our wall at home. Have a gratitude, a mural from our friend Peter Tunney, the artist. Gratitude with 2 T's. He says it's gratitude is an attitude. Have that at our office at work. And so I see that, the first thing in the morning, I repeat thank you over and over. And then I brush my teeth and I meditate for 20 minutes. Then I'm off to the day.
Off to the office.
Yeah, because it's one of those things you don't want to, especially living in the city, you don't want to wake up and next thing you know you're running late and you're catching the subway and someone bumps you and then asshole, I missed the train, I'm late, and then 9 a.m. it's like mentally you're in a different space. Your day's ruined.
You've already messed up. Yeah. So what happened with you after basketball and after Columbia? What did you go through before Mind Body Green?
Sure. So keep in mind I graduated in 1998. So back then there weren't really startups. There was no, entrepreneurs didn't really exist in that sense.
There weren't blogs really or websites.
No, there was nothing. I remember when we just got email at Columbia. Like, what is this? We can email professors and tell them we're going to turn the paper in late. This is fantastic. And so back then, guys either went to Wall Street, they maybe became a lawyer if they had grades, or if they had an aptitude for science, maybe they went to med school. I didn't have grades and I didn't come from money. And so I was like, I'll go to Wall Street. I need to make some money here, pay off my school loans. Like I saw money as freedom, as money was something I always wanted. So I became a trader and, learned pretty quickly. In my second year, made $800,000, which second year, yeah,
25-year-old kid making $800,000. And that's pretty good.
It was good. This was in 2000.
Wow.
And so saw the NASDAQ go from like 1,800 to 5,000. And I saw it go back down too. But at any rate,
you were living like a king.
Yes and no. I was living in a small apartment in Chelsea. I didn't spend money on anything.
Wow.
I spent a lot of money on
food and experiences,
food and restaurants, and a lot of booze.
But you're probably stacking the money then, saving.
A lot of drinking and going out.
Okay, so maybe not saving. So you blew a lot of it.
I did. It lasted a long time though.
That's good.
And so learned very quickly, here was something I always wanted to make money, and then boom, I have this. I remember it was my second month. I made like $280,000, huge month.
$280,000 in a month.
Yeah.
Second month working.
I still have yet to.
Second month working.
No. Second month and second. It was the second month of
second year.
That year. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Where I made the 800. And so at the same time, my relationship was falling apart, and so I was a mess. I was miserable, and it was such a contrast. It's like, okay, on one hand, I always wanted to make money. I worked hard, and it was finally, arriving, so to speak, paid off all my college debt, bought my mom a car, all this great stuff.
Wow.
And then on the other hand, like this relationship, which I thought was the relationship, was falling apart, and I was a mess. And I'm like, this money buys happiness thing, it's just not there. I would have given anything at that moment to go back just to making what I was making and have this relationship be intact.
Wow.
And so it was a big eye opener, like I'm not happy. And so that happened, and I did like trading. It was a great experience. It was like playing sports again. Every day was a game.
Yes.
I liked the competitive nature.
Yes.
It was great. But
so the guys involved, or so.
Yeah, it was all like a lot of great people. And then 9/11 happened a couple of years later, and then I was sort of done. Like I had one foot out the door at that moment. I just felt the yearning to do something else. I thought I wasn't really creating value in the world. I was just making money, and like I started leaving work early. Read about people, starting businesses that they were passionate about, and this idea of, life and work becoming one. And that wasn't me. I was checked out. I was already out the door. And so I decided that I needed to move on.
What do you think are the building blocks of wealth?
Wow. I think that wealth is a blend of mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and environmental well-being. And so, I think the way I see true wellness, it's this blend. I don't think it's just, self-help. I don't think it's just fitness or just nutrition or just the environment or just business. I think all these things are interconnected in becoming our best self. And so I sort of leave like the building blocks. I think, as we touched on, I don't think there's a one size fits all approach to anything. And so I think that each individual has to decide, which elements are important to them, where they're lacking, where they're not, and decide, where they need to make change in their life. In a lot of ways, I think Wealth is the book that I wish I had 15 years ago when I was going through this, where I would go to Barnes and Noble and just read anything I could read on becoming a better person, a healthier person. And, and I think that was important to me when I did this. How do we reach people who aren't in this space?
Right. So how did Mind, Body, Green come about then?
Sure. So I left Wall Street, became an entrepreneur, had some things that didn't work. The cliche is true. You learn more from the failures. And so I was running an organic chocolate chip cookie company that was in every Whole Foods in the country.
Sounds amazing.
Yes and no. Cookies were fantastic.
Yeah. The business of making cookies was hard, huh?
The business, and it's the only business, the natural products business, where what you invoice is not what you get paid.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
it's
hilarious.
it's fascinating.
And you don't get paid for 6 months or something,
Oh
right?
God, net 30s like net 90, and
Oh my
it's
goodness.
it's tough business. But so I was running that business and doing a lot of flying that year. I flew almost 150,000 miles
Oh my
domestic.
gosh.
I'm 6'7".
That's misery.
It
You have
is.
a back problem just from that year.
Well, yeah. So my back got really bad. So I had
Oh.
2 extruded discs pressing on my sciatic nerve. So L4, L5, S1.
You got to go.
I could see you
Oh my
screeching.
gosh. I mean, I'm 6'4", and I know the pain of flying just
Yeah.
at 6'4", so I can only imagine. I'm already against the thing, if I
Yeah.
fly coach. Luckily, I've got so many points that I get upgraded almost every time
I do
now.
that all the time now. I don't wait.
It's just like, it's just not worth it. I'd rather spend an extra $500 than be in pain and miserable.
Yeah. So that was me.
For
Could
a year.
not walk. So,
Oh my gosh.
Excruciating sciatic on my right leg. Could not walk.
And then when you're going to meetings on these trips, you're probably not fully present, or you're not fully healthy.
No, your back's bad.
It's
You
like,
can't.
ugh.
It's everything. It's everything.
Wow.
So went to a doctor. He did an MRI and X-ray, and said you have these extruded discs. You need back surgery, non-negotiable. So like, okay, let me get a second opinion.
Yeah, I would
So
too.
sought a second opinion. He said the same thing. You need back surgery. Maybe a cortisone shot will help. I tried that, didn't do anything. And he said, maybe some yoga or therapy could help, but you still need surgery.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'll try yoga. I'll see what happens. So started doing some really light yoga, 10, 15 minutes in the morning, at night. Started to explore like stress, sleep, nutrition, the environment, all these things affected health. And so this is all happening simultaneously. And
While you're
starting
running
to feel
the cookie
better.
business.
Yeah. So I'm starting to feel better. And then over the course of weeks, starting to walk better. The pain is moving up the leg, which is always a thing with back pain. Like the further south it goes, the worse. The further north it goes, the better.
Right.
And then over the course of months, I'm fine.
Wow.
So I've never gotten surgery.
No surgery.
Totally fine.
So yoga practice, sleep, nutrition.
Nutrition. I was a guy who, I looked great at the time, but I was a mess.
Eating
like
fast food everywhere.
So I ate so much steak, and I still eat meat, but not a lot of it. I ate so much steak at the Palm Steakhouse in the west side of Manhattan that my caricature is on the wall.
Wow.
1 year. So it's like Adam Sandler, Joe Namath, and me. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much steak.
That's
so
how
my
much
idea of
food.
health was steak and like 10 martinis.
Oh my gosh.
And so started eating more plants, like started to look at like the power of spirituality and having, and the environment, and all these things were interconnected. And I was like, whoa, everyone's got this thing wrong. Like my mind was blown because this happened to me. And the other thing, like a spiritual level, I found out about the chakra system.
Mm-hmm.
And I read something like the root chakra, the lower back, is associated with like money worries. And like I was broke at the time and getting engaged. And I had no money to buy the ring. And I'm like, oh my God, this stuff all makes sense. It's not crazy. Well, it's like one of those things where you say things like out there, new age. Then when it hits home, you're like, holy shit, what else, and you can't get enough of it. And I was like, everyone's got health wrong. Every print magazine's about vanity and weight loss. And it's this lifestyle. It's mind, body, green. No one's talking about this for like the normal people like me. And then launched the site, and the rest is history.
What year was this?
So 2007, we had the idea for the site. I found my co-founders, Tim and Carver, and we were both doing like different things, and it was in beta, like a side gig. And then 2009 is when we officially launched.
Really?
Yeah, September of 2009. So we've been at this for a while. Started with a blog post a day.
At this for a while, but also not that long at the same time. If you look at it, it's like, you've been at, what is it, 7 years now you've been at it, but you built an incredible business. You've got how many employees now? 33,
I think.
33 employees, plus many more contributors, I'm assuming.
4,000.
4,000 contributing writers.
Yeah.
Amazing. And how much content are you putting out every day now?
I think we do 12 to 14 pieces a day.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You do events, you've got courses, it's expanded to many different things now. And how do you feel over the last 7 years by constantly living this practice, sharing this information, making other people better? How does it feel?
It's awesome. I love what I do. I think, energetically from a people perspective, I think you are a combination of the 5 people you hang out with most. And in the past, 5 or 6 years, I've gotten to meet like some of the most amazing, awesome people
Yeah.
like yourself in health
Yeah.
and wellness, like doing amazing things, and you meet these people.
Right. Rituals
And
of the
yeah,
world.
and we're friends and we hang out, and like you just can't help but like feel the energy and be
Yeah.
inspired. Like it's like, someone over here, it's like, you're writing another book and he's doing this. It's like, what are you doing? It's like awesome.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't, versus like in some environments with friends, it's like, what are you doing? Well, how are you going to make money? Or what is that?
Yeah.
It's just a different conversation. So like I'm continually inspired and fulfilled by the community, which is just awesome. So it's been great. And then growing a business has been fun and great and challenging and all that stuff. I think one thing personally I definitely have to be careful of is I love what I do so much, and my wife works with me. I work a lot.
Could be 100 all 24/7.
So it's like I've had moments from like all this wellness is making me sick. That's
hilarious.
I got to find time for myself.
Right.
It's great if I'm helping people change their lives, but I got to also take care of myself.
Make sure you continue to do your yoga practice.
Right, meditation, yoga. Going to the gym. I've evolved and I will continue to evolve. But like something you never want to. I think a lot of people in wellness have that problem too. It's like they love what they do and they work so much, but it's like what happened to my practice?
Yeah, right.
Whatever that may be.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll find myself. There's certain things that my way of being is consistent with gratitude and acknowledgement and support and appreciation. But sometimes I won't meditate every day. It's like, although I talk about the importance and the value of it all the time on here, and I'm bringing on meditation experts. And sometimes I'll just do it at night, and I won't do it in the morning. And it's like, well, I get to make sure that I continue to follow through on what I'm, what we're talking about. It's easy to slip out of any of these things. That's why I continue to have these conversations. If you probably weren't doing Mind, Body, Green, it might be easier for you to slip out of the practice of everything.
Oh yeah, if I weren't doing Mind, Body, Green, I'd be doing yoga all day. I'd be doing meditation. and then you could go the other way too.
Yeah.
But it's that balance.
Yeah. What's been the most inspiring thing that's happened for you since starting the site?
Wow. I think the people, meeting so many people who are, have healed themselves, like people like Chris Carr, Joe Cross, Terry Walls. I could go on and on.
Joe Cross is the juice guy, right?
Yeah.
Fast, Sick, Nearly Dead.
Yeah. Phenomenal.
Awesome.
Like all these.
That's where I first met you, I think.
I
first saw you there.
Yes.
I didn't actually talk to you.
First
you were there.
sighting.
The first sighting. I was like, there's another giant in the room. I can see him.
Too funny.
Yes.
Just meeting people who are, have risen from, insurmountable circumstance. And, that's just always so fulfilling. And some of the emails we get from people, like they change their lives. Like that's, it's like you see things like that. It's like, this is why we're doing what we're doing.
That's cool.
Love that.
What's been the biggest challenge for you over the last 6-7 years?
Hiring, scaling, managing. It's one thing when we first started out, when it's like 5 people in an office, where it's like, do we want to do this? Yes, no, can we do it? When do you think we could do it? Okay, done. Versus, setting a meeting, setting an agenda, structure, scaling,
rules,
headcount,
HR,
process. Organizations start to form where I have reports and they have reports, so cultures develop within mini cultures, and how are they all in line with the culture I want, and what type of people work out. People who are good employees from maybe 1 to 10 aren't great from 30 to 50, and then 50 to 100, and how do we get tighter in the interview process? Like, what are the things we look for? Like, now we have data of people who've succeeded and who haven't. So it's like,
that's interesting.
What are the questions we ask? Like, what are the qualities we look for? What are the questions we ask? And how do we make sure we get the right people? Because we could have the greatest mission, the greatest product, the greatest everything, but if we don't have the right people, not going to succeed. And so how do we find, and I think we're getting quite good at that.
Yeah.
And then, managing is something I think no one inherently is a great manager. It's something you have to work at and learn.
Yeah.
And so that's been fun and challenging, and it's fun and challenging.
What's the mission for you right now?
I think it's this idea of helping people live their best life. And to me, it's through this lifestyle, Mind, Body, Green. I think it's, Mind, Body, Green by design. It's one word, not 3. It's all connected. And, I think just just having someone living their best life when it's just self-help focused sort of misses the other components. It's this blend, once again, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and environmental well-being. So starting with that broad mission and then giving people the best content, then people helping them live that way. So it's online courses. You read an article about meditation. You want to learn meditation when we got a class. You want to experience, connect with community. We do events. Someday we'll probably do products, but things to help you live better. So like give you the tools. If you want to become a better person, we want to be able to give you everything.
How do you build a culture that isn't focused on business growth, but more the things that you're teaching people to live every single day? You're teaching and put out content about lifestyle and health and wellness, but you got to pay bills.
You need both.
And they, I'm sure their salaries aren't, cheap for everyone that you have on your team. So how do you, lead in a way that gets people to step up and be productive every single day so that they're bringing back 2 to 10x whatever you're paying them, but also to make sure that they're living a healthy life?
So something we've learned in the hiring process, I go back to, in basketball, coaches used to always say you can't teach height.
You can't. No.
So I think for us in hiring and
or speed
culture,
necessarily.
you can't teach. You can get a little faster, but you can't get a little bit taller.
No.
So what I say is you can't teach passion and work ethic. So how do we find people who are really passionate about what we're doing? And then how do you find people who work hard? If you don't, either you work hard or you don't.
You're lazy or you work hard.
Right. And maybe as a kid you can come out of that, but as an adult, you either have it or you don't. So I think for us it starts with, hiring people who fit that profile. And then you talk about like, do they have a certain skill set? Can they do the job? But like, are they passionate? If you get people who are passionate and work hard, I'd take that any day over the week for someone who's got a great skill set, who's lazy and is a pain in the ass.
It's like the guy on the basketball team that just always dove on the floor for the loose ball.
Yeah.
And always was there for the rebound and always took the charge. It's like you'll take him on your team all day long.
Yep.
Any coach would take that player.
Yeah, and so it's finding that, and then my job, are we? I'm steering the ship. Like, are we going the right way? Is the ship going the right way? Is the plan sound? Do we have the right people on the ship? And then making sure we're going where we need to go.
Right. How much of the success of the site do you credit towards your team?
A lot of it. I think you're only good as your team and the community. And I think, I say, we have a team of 33 people. Everything we do depends on them. Like, you can't operate a business if the CEO is gone and, the wheels fall off the wagon. And then also the larger community, we're Miami Green, I think, is the center of content, community, and commerce, and largely community driven. We have 4,000 contributors who write for us. A lot of the best contributors are some of my best friends. They're people we go out to dinner with, we hang out, we do courses with them. So they're a big part of this. Like, how do we shine a light on people who are doing great things? How do we create revenue opportunities for them? Like, that's important. How do we give back? Like, giving back, community, I think, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think community is in our DNA. It started when I was going through this. I didn't say like, okay, how do we get community? Like, let's go get it. Where do we get some of that? I say I was smart enough to know I didn't know everything, and started, asking questions and meeting people. And next thing you know, they were blogging and meet more people. And then they started blogging, and it's this very authentic thing. And so they're a big part of this too. And like, it's been fun. Like Rich Roll, you mentioned, it's like I met Rich in 2010.
Yeah.
Known for 6 years. I've watched him grow and us
grow. Before his book? When did his first book?
Before his book. My wife, Colleen, went to Stanford and read about Rich in Stanford Magazine.
Wow.
I was like, we should talk to this guy. He's cool. I'm like, he's just another Stanford swimmer. He's born. And she's like, she did an interview with him, my wife. I was like, this guy's awesome. And, seeing him grow and then us grow and then we collaborate and we both grow together, like, that stuff's just
That's really
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's it like working with your wife?
It's good. Our problem is we actually work well together. We don't sit next to each other.
That's good.
She's the chief brand officer and our one of the founding partner. We work very differently. We don't sit next to each other. Our problem is we're so passionate about what we do. Like, this is work and life are really one. We have trouble turning it off. We don't have kids yet. Hopefully we'll have kids this year, next year. And so it's just, the phrase last work comment happens a lot with us.
What does that mean? Let's
like
say
last work. I got last work comment. One last thing I have to say before you go to bed.
Okay.
So we never. It's hard for us
Wow.
to shut off because we just love what we do. We're growing, and
Yeah.
so we're constantly.
I guess what else would you talk about if it wasn't work?
I know we joke that, like, what did we talk about before when we were together
Before
before
My
My Muddy Green? Like we had all these other
My
things.
back pain.
Yeah. But it's a great problem. We've gotten better a little bit about that separation.
Yeah.
But it's great though. Like I think when when I think passion, values, and work are aligned, it's like magical. Like
It's a pretty sweet
I
life.
love it. Yeah.
What else do you look for?
Right.
I mean, what else is there?
I had the other thing where you just
Make the money,
and then walked out and you were done, and it wasn't for me.
What's your biggest fear? You've got this big site,
Sure.
thousands of contributors,
Sure.
this credibility,
Sure.
name.
Yeah, all that stuff. Credibility. There's this great line. It takes years to build trust, seconds to lose, and a lifetime to regain. Our brand, our community, our trust is everything. So like it's how do we be careful about that? How do we cultivate that? How do we grow? And also at scale. Like we've got 10 to 12 million unique visitors a month. Like we have serious scale. Like we've got 33 employees. So like how do we guard that? How do we nurture that? How do we grow that? But also at scale. I can do it, but I can't do it for everyone, or I could do it. So how does every employee like think the same way about the brand and what we're doing? And that's something we're really focused on.
So what is your biggest fear then?
That's what. So how do we maintain the DNA? I think that's every startup's fear. How do you maintain that trust, that culture, the relationships? As you grow, how do you lose that? You don't want to wake up someday and go in the office and be like, "What the hell happened? Like, why are we doing this over here? And who's that guy over there? And who ordered pizza?
Sure.
We don't. What are we doing with pizza? Not that like that's a bad thing. Sure, pizza's fine every once in a while, but. I think so. How do you maintain that? How does everyone as a culture, grow in a way that I think is authentic to My Muddy Green? How does that drill down? And also be sustainable, become a business and great people. And so that's like a big thing. How do you do that? Like you have to, and you can't micromanage that. How do you set up the infrastructure? How do you find the right people and then plug them in and build those pillars, that strong foundation? Because if we want to build a skyscraper, we want to do big things, like the foundation's not set. Pillars aren't there.
Sure.
You're gonna be patching up things. You're just never gonna be able to build. It'll take,
of course.
So.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned about yourself from writing this book?
It's a good question. I share it a lot. I tend not to do that in person, maybe unless I really know you. But
what are 2 or 3 things that would shock people that you wrote about in there? That you shared?
I was talking with Amanda Chantel Bacon from Moon Juice today, and she read the book, and she was like, I just kept on like thinking of you as this idea of like a trader playboy, like getting smashed every night with women. She's like, wow. I couldn't picture you as that, or like, doing stupid crap in high school and cheating and drug, all that stuff. But I wanted to share that. I think within the world we live in today, where social media in a lot of ways is driven by Instagram, we're in a culture where people project perfection. And that's nice, but no one's perfect. I wanted to show I'm a normal guy, like a lot of people. Sure, I'm 6'7", but like I'm a normal guy. Like I'm a normal guy that if you walked into a bar, you'd have a conversation with. Maybe we'd have a drink, a laugh, or what have you. And so I really wanted to let people know who I was, because I do think it's a problem when in this age of social media, we're constantly only showing the good and perfection, and no one's perfect. I'm far from perfect, and I think shooting for perfection is dangerous. And I think it's this idea once again of what's the lifestyle, like what works for you. Like no one's perfect. Like I talk about just in diet in terms of like, I sugar's toxic, sugar's terrible, sugar's a devil, but you know what? Sometimes I want a good donut, and that's okay.
I love donuts.
That's okay. And so it's just, I wanted to show people it's okay.
So even though you're promoting Mind, Body, Green.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
You're not You're vegan, raw vegan.
No, and
you're
I've
not
tried.
ritual.
I've been vegan. I've been paleo. I've been vegetarian. Like, yes, I believe in a plant-based diet. Like where I am today, like I eat
Yes.
mostly plants, but like every once in a while I'll have meat. I'll have I'm
Yeah.
a human,
Yeah.
and I think perfection, unless you've got a some health issues, like lifestyle is the only thing that lasts, and you got to find what works for you.
Exactly. Yeah. What's your vision for the next 5-6 years? You've been around
Wow.
6 years, over
Sure.
7 years now.
Yeah.
So it's come a long way.
Yep.
It's evolved in many
Yep.
different. You probably didn't
Yep.
know you're going to have courses or events. Maybe you
Yeah.
did.
No.
But what do you see happening in twice the amount of time from here?
Sure.
How much traffic you get? How many posts you putting out?
Sure.
What are you guys creating?
Well, two things. So I'll talk about on the macro level, I think more of what we do. So like more content, better content, a lot more classes, courses. We're going to start to do trainings, really exciting, become more of a platform to help awesome people, like get their word out, have more of a conversation, which I think, once again, community, how do we support community, create revenue for community, events, we love events, connect with people. Like that's really important. Once again, it sort of gets lost in this day and age.
Sure.
And I think we'll do product at some point, like not to just do product, but like you got to give people the tools. Media is just one way of giving people tools to help themselves better. But if there are products that can also go along with that, that probably makes sense for us.
What type of product would you love to have?
I'd love to do, a yoga mat.
Mm-hmm.
Work with someone awesome on that. Or, it's like one of the first questions I always get from a guy who's starting yoga. Some of my older guy friends are like starting to, feel a case of the 40s, so to speak. Like I'm going to go to yoga. What mat should I get?
Right.
So it'd be great to collaborate with someone on that.
Sure.
And so that I think we want to do more of everything, and also stay true to the mission. Like we're never going to do anything just to do it. What's the purpose? And then, traffic, uniques, all that stuff. I actually think we're in an interesting time in media. I think it's evolving. We're in the age of platforms. Metrics are changing. So it used to be uniques were sort of everything. Uniques are still important. You still need scale, but like you got Instagram, you got Snapchat, you got Facebook.
Total
platforms. And so you talk to different people in different ways on different platforms. And what the platforms are doing too is they're creating ways for you to live on their platform that are unique to that platform. So they don't have to go back to you. So to survive and to thrive in this new environment, you need massive, massive scale, or you need a really strong brand. Ideally both. So like where we're going, like I think our brand's really strong. It can live on platforms where people remember it. They know the content and they come back to our site. And that's where we're at. So I think media is like at this interesting, you either like are going to go big,
right,
or just try to like carve out your niche and still have like a great business and mission driven. And so and like the middle is falling out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing with media, and talk to a lot of smart people about that. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to invest in all these platforms.
Right.
It's not cheap.
Yeah. A lot of time.
Or are you going to carve out something and build your audience authentically and serve them? And it's hard to do to do both.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over here.
Who are a couple of the brands or sites that really are inspiring you that you're like, wow, these guys are just doing it well, doing it right, and they're just accelerating because of that?
I look at everything. I think on the I look at everyone. To be honest, like I don't know if I'm like blown away by anyone. Really? I see people carving out where they're going. Some people I look at like, okay, they're going for the massive scale. I see others where I'm like, you're kind of gonna be left in the middle, and I see others starting to like carve out their niche. I go back to sports metaphors. So the great John Wooden, who coached at UCLA, famously like was never a big scout, so to speak. He always said he was aware he did a little scouting, but didn't spend a lot of time on scouting. And he said, if we just need to focus on what we do, and if we focus on what we do and we execute, we will win. And that's how I sort of look at it. Like I'm aware, but like I said, everyone internally, we just need to focus on our plan and our strategy and execution. And if we do,
we'll be successful.
We're going to be successful. And it's not about winning or losing either. It's like, how do we become the best we can be?
Of course. Yeah, I love that. What's a question no one's ever asked you you wish they would ask you?
What's a question?
you've never been asked that you wish people would ask you more often?
I don't know.
Is there anything?
I have to think about that one.
Okay.
People ask me a lot.
Yeah. What's something people don't know about you that you wish they knew more of you?
I think it goes back to this idea of balance where, I'm in the middle of the wellness world. Like I know all the best doctors, the heart of it, know all the best doctors, the nutritionists, the yogis, you know it. And Mind Body Green's driving a large part of this conversation. But I really believe in balance. Unless you have, as I mentioned, serious health issues, I believe in balance. I believe in finding a lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe in this one-size-fits-all approach to health and wellness. Like, I think it's insane. I'm 6'7", 41, probably like 225 pounds or so. I don't weigh myself anymore. I'm taking a guess. What is good for me? It's insane to think would be good for like a 5'2", 18-year-old female gymnast.
Right.
And I think this idea that, in the wellness world, it's very dogmatic where it's like, you got to be this or you got to be that or you got to do that. I think it's not great for a lot of people who are new to this. And so I think I'd love for more people to know that, like, it's okay. Like, balance is good. Like, strive for making improvements in your life that make sense. And it's a lifestyle. Because if it's not a lifestyle, like if you're just going to go all in and then you can't maintain it,
sure,
you're going to fall apart.
That's true.
And, I want people to, like, I'm not this insane. I get questions like, are you vegan or are you paleo? I'm like, no, like, I believe in those things, but like, I am a conscious omnivore, even though I believe in the power of plants and eat more vegetables. And I think that's like the joke, like that would be the worst selling book of all time. Just eat vegetables. And that's the diet. If you stick to that, you're going to be okay. So I wish people knew more about that. Like I believe in balance. Mm-hmm. I am not just some guy who juices and does yoga every day and meditates. Like, I am a normal guy who, extremely blessed, works hard, have great people around me, but I'm a normal guy and I do what I can. I find a lifestyle that works for me.
Right.
And so, here it is, like the guy is the CEO of, one of probably the media company that's driving the health and wellness revolution, but like, I'm normal.
Right.
I'm not nuts.
Right. Exactly. I love it.
It's okay.
Yeah. I love it. Final few questions.
Sure.
What are you most grateful for in your life recently?
Oh man, like my family, my mother, my wife, my team at Mind Body Green, like, my health, all the little things you just never want to take for granted.
For sure. This is the 3 truths question. I don't know if you heard my podcast ever.
Yes.
At the end, you have? Okay. So it's the last day. You have a piece of paper and a pen to write 3 truths. Your book is gone. Mind Body Green is gone.
Where'd it go?
It's deleted. It's erased from time. Everything's gone. But it's many, many years from now, and you get to write down your 3 lessons, 3 things you know to be true about everything you've learned in life. Mm-hmm. And this is the message you give to the world, since they can't read anything you've ever put out there before. Mm-hmm. What would you write down as those 3 truths?
Gratitude is the key to happiness. I would say the key to success is the combination of belief and passion. And I would say that true love only comes along when you are 100%, when you are in love with yourself and know who you are.
Those are good. I like those. Those are good.
Lewis House approved.
I approve that. I like that one. Before I ask the final question, make sure to go get Wealth, How I Learned to Build a Life, Not a Resume. Go pick it up right now. You can get it in bookstores and Amazon and everywhere online. Also go to mindbodygreen.com. Subscribe, become a part of the community. You guys have a lot of great content.
Yes.
I check it out all the time, so make sure to go there. Where should we follow you specifically if we want to connect or
Yeah,
say hi?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Jason Wachob, Wachob.
There you go. Before I ask the final question, I want to acknowledge you, Jason, for being here and for showing up and for having awareness, because I think that it's so easy for people to get caught up in wanting to make money and be driven to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And the awareness you had with your health, with your back,
Yep.
with noticing that, hey, this isn't really serving my higher purpose right
Yep.
now, and shifting, leaving
Yep.
a successful financial job and going into the unknown.
Yeah. It took 10 years.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. These transitions can take a while.
Right. But now you're serving the world in a major way.
Yes.
So that awareness, that noticing that you had that presence has impacted millions of people around the world. So I want to acknowledge you for your commitment,
Thank you.
your dedication, your passion for this, because you're serving so many people in the process.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And the final question is, what's your definition of greatness?
I think greatness is feeling great. Well, let me think about that, because I could go a couple different ways with this now that I'm starting to think about it. I think greatness is, I'm going to go back to gratitude. I think greatness is waking up every morning and feeling grateful for what you have and grateful for the world you live in, and trying to do whatever you can during the day to be the best person you can possibly be, even in the smallest moments. And I think true greatness in that definition is quite hard, because we all have, it's easy, I think, to focus on big things like greatness is doing, X or Y and doing that. But I think it's the moments throughout the day where we all lose ourselves, when we all, are upset in the line at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. But I think it's that idea of, I think life in general, success and greatness is made up of the smaller moments, and really focusing on trying to get through them and be the best you can be. And it's hard, and we all have moments, myself included. So I think greatness is, and you'll never really get there, which is the beauty of it.
Awesome. Jason, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks so much, Lewis.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking right here to subscribe, because each week we come out with awesome, epic, and inspiring interviews and messages and videos just for you. So click subscribe right here to get notified of new videos every week. Also, if you enjoyed this specific interview, we've got a lot of great interviews like this that are uplifting and inspiring. So click right here to watch the previous interviews, because the people I've had on are pretty cool and epic as well. So click here to watch previous interviews. Click here to subscribe. I love you guys, and I'll see you very soon.